Retirement has a way of making us believe that freedom looks like ownership. A boat, RV, vacation home, luxury cars, dream home remodel, or once-in-a-lifetime trip. We picture these things for years and they begin to feel like more than just purchases. They start to feel like proof that we've made it and that all of these years of working, sacrificing, raising children, paying bills, and putting ourselves last finally led to something. And that is why some of the biggest regrets in retirement are not just financial, they're emotional. They are identity-based because sometimes what we're really buying is not the item. It's the version of ourselves that we hope that the item will make us become. Hi, I'm Michelle, and on my channel we talk about creating a peaceful, confident life after 50, especially if you're living alone, traveling solo, or navigating retirement. Retirement is not just a financial transition, it's an identity transition. For most of our adult lives, we know who we are in relation to what we do. We're needed, we're busy, we're producing, we're managing and building. Then retirement comes and suddenly there's this open space. An open space can feel exciting, but it can also feel disorientating. So it makes sense that many people reach for something tangible to define this new chapter. Something that says, this is who I am now. I'm adventurous, relaxed, successful, and finally living now. But retirement has a way of exposing the difference between what looks like freedom and what actually feels like freedom. Because sometimes the thing that you buy to represent freedom becomes the very thing that steals it. What looked like a reward becomes responsibility. And what looked like leisure becomes upkeep. What looked like ease becomes insurance, storage, taxes, repairs, and one more thing to manage. And in retirement, managing more is not always the gift we think it is. Take boats and RVs. These are classic retirement dream purchases because they hold so much symbolism. They represent spontaneity, adventure, fun, escape. They represent the life many people imagined they will finally have time for. But there's a difference between loving the idea of boating and wanting to own a boat. There's a difference between dreaming about a road trip and owning an RV. Ownership changes everything. It turns a fantasy into a responsibility. It adds cost, maintenance, storage, registration, repairs, and all of the invisible work that rarely shows up in the dream. And that's where regrets begin. Not necessarily because the dream itself was wrong, but because the ownership was. You may truly want the experience of being on the water a few times each summer. You may truly want to take a beautiful RV road trip through the Southwest, but that does not automatically mean you want a boat or RV sitting in your life the other 50 weeks of the year, costing money, taking up mental space, and quietly demanding your attention. And I think this is where retirement invites a different kind of wisdom. It asks us to separate access from ownership. You don't need to have to own everything you enjoy. You don't have to buy something to prove that you are the kind of person who appreciates it. You can rent the boat for the weekend, rent the RV for the trip, rent the beach house for a month, and borrow the experience without buying the burden. And honestly, that may be one of the smartest mindsets you can bring into retirement. Because sometimes what we really want is not ownership, it's access. It's the feeling, the memory, and the experience. It's the ability to step into something beautiful without having to permanently carry it. The same thing happens with second homes and vacation properties. The dream sounds beautiful. A little place by the beach, a cabin in the mountains, a condo in the city that you love visiting. Somewhere to escape to, somewhere that represents arrival. But a second home doesn't just give you a getaway, it gives you another roof, another tax bill, another utility bill, and another maintenance list. Another set of things that can go wrong. And instead of feeling free, you can end up feeling divided, not relaxed, but responsible in two places at the same time. And sometimes, even when people can technically afford it, that still doesn't make it wise. Retirement isn't just about whether you can afford something. It's about whether you're ready to keep it. It's about whether that purchase gives you more freedom or takes it away, whether it brings you peace or quietly steals it from you, whether it helps you live your life or just makes you feel good about what you think retirement should be. I think homes and remodels can carry the same trap. So many people enter retirement thinking this is the time to finally buy the dream house or transform the one that they're in. And I understand that. Home is deeply emotional. We all want a space that feels beautiful and peaceful and aligned with who we are now. But sometimes people spend far more than they should trying to create a house that reflects a fantasy rather than a life. It's possible for a house to be stunning, but it might not be the right fit for you. A remodel can be incredibly beautiful, but it could also become a source of stress. A dream home might look amazing, but it could put a strain on your finances, making your daily life feel more cramped, not more comfortable. I really think it's a key question to ponder in retirement. Is this something I'm passionate about, or is it something I'm willing to dedicate myself to financially and emotionally? Will I want to keep this lifestyle going for years to come? It's easy to get caught up in the thrill of buying something new, but it's quite another to carry the responsibility of it all. The same applies to expensive travel. I think meaningful travel can be one of the best uses of money in retirement. But there is a difference between intentional travel and emotionally driven spending. Sometimes people feel pressure to take a giant trip right away. The luxury cruise, the grand tour, the expensive experience they have been postponing for years. And often underneath that urgency is fear. Fear of aging, missing out, or if they don't do it now, the chance will be gone. Fear that retirement is supposed to look a certain way and they need to catch up to it. That fear can be very expensive because fear doesn't usually lead to wise decisions. It leads to symbolic ones. It leads to spending that feels bigger than it needs to be because what we're really trying to satisfy is not desire, it's anxiety. It becomes a question of identity. Who am I now? Who am I if work no longer shapes who I am? Who am I if I'm not constantly creating, reaching goals, or showing off? Who am I if this phase of life feels more peaceful than I imagined? And who am I if I'm not buying the things I thought retirement would bring? Sometimes we use purchases to answer those questions. We let objects tell us who we are. The boat says I'm free. The luxury car says I'm still vibrant. The second home says I've made it. The big remodel says this is my fresh start. But objects can't do that work for us. They can reflect a lifestyle, but they can't create a meaningful one. And if your life still feels uncertain, lonely, unstructured, or disconnected, no purchase is going to solve that for very long. I also think there's another side to retirement identity that deserves more attention, especially for women, and that's the identity of being generous. The one who helps, the one who says yes, the one who steps in financially for children, grandchildren, or loved ones. And generosity is a beautiful thing when it comes from a genuine abundance. But some retirees give too much, not because they can, but because they're afraid not to. Afraid someone will be disappointed or feel hurt, or afraid love will be withdrawn if money is. Because you can drain your future trying to protect other people from discomfort in the present. And while helping your family may feel loving, sacrificing your own stability out of fear is not generosity. You can love other people deeply and still have boundaries. You can help sometimes and still say no. And you can be caring without making your own future more fragile. As you think about retirement, one of the most insightful questions you might ask yourself is, do I want to own this or do I simply want to experience it? This question can really make a difference. Sometimes renting isn't just a compromise, it's a smart choice. And sometimes having access is more like freedom. Sometimes borrowing the experience instead of buying the responsibility is the most thoughtful thing you can do. And sometimes the best retirement decision is the one that gives you more space, not less. More peace, more flexibility, more room to move, more freedom to change your mind as life evolves. Because the richest retirement may not be the one that looks the most impressive from the outside. It may be the one that lets you breathe, the one that lets you sleep at night, and the one that leaves room for changing priorities, slower mornings, unexpected expenses, meaningful experiences, and the quiet comfort of knowing your life still belongs to you. And I think that's what so many people are really looking for. Thank you so much for watching.